The stars in the Milky Way galaxy had forgotten about humans. It had been 250 years since anyone saw them. Most alien species believed humans were just another dead race, gone like so many others who tried to reach the stars and failed. But they were wrong. The Craythan Empire ruled the galaxy with an iron fist. For 3 centuries, these reptilian warriors had conquered world after world. Their scales were dark as space itself, their claws sharp enough to tear through metal, and their hearts held no mercy. Supreme Overlord Vexthor sat on his throne on the planet Crymos and watched his empire grow fat on the suffering of others. 40 different species bowed to Craythan rule. Some tried to resist at first, but the Craythan had a simple response to rebellion. They would move their massive warships into orbit above a planet and threaten to burn everything. Cities, forests, oceans, nothing would survive. Most species surrendered quickly after that. Those who didn't became examples for others. The slave worlds produced everything the Craythan needed. Food, weapons, ships, and luxuries flowed to Crymos while the conquered species worked until they died. The Craythan soldiers enforced every rule with brutal efficiency. A slave who worked too slowly would be killed in front of others. A planet that failed to meet its quota would see one of its cities destroyed from orbit. Some species still tried to fight back in secret. Small resistance groups would sabotage factories or hide escaped slaves, but the Craythan always found them eventually. Their spy networks were everywhere, and they rewarded traitors well. Every few months, news would spread of another resistance cell being crushed, their members executed publicly as warnings. The Ashran species tried a different approach. They were peaceful by nature, with pale blue skin and large eyes that seemed to hold endless sadness. The Ashran believed in diplomacy and negotiation. They sent ambassadors to Vexthor, offering tribute in exchange for better treatment of slaves. Vexthor listened to their speeches and proposals, then ordered half their ambassadors killed just to prove a point. Peace meant nothing to the Craythan. Only strength mattered. Commander Zalketh was one of Vexthor's best officers. His dark green scales bore scars from 100 battles, and his reputation for cruelty was known across the Empire. He led the 4th Fleet, 50 warships that patrolled the frontier sectors looking for new worlds to conquer or rebels to crush. On a routine patrol, one of Zalketh's scout ships detected something unusual. Deep in an empty region of space, far from any inhabited systems, their sensors picked up a massive object drifting in the void. The scout captain reported it immediately. Zalketh studied the scans from his flagship's command center. The object was huge, easily 3 kilometers long. Its design was unlike anything in the Craythan database. The hull looked old and damaged, with some sections exposed to vacuum. But power readings showed it still had active systems inside. "What is it?" Zalketh asked his science officer. The officer checked his console, then his eyes widened. "Commander, the computer has identified it. It's a colony ship from Earth, human design. According to our records, humans went extinct over 2 centuries ago." Zalketh's lips pulled back in what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. Apparently not quite extinct. Scan for life signs. The science officer worked his controls, and the results made him pause. "Commander, I'm detecting thousands of life signs. They appear to be in some kind of suspended animation. The entire ship is functioning as a massive storage facility for living beings." This was an unexpected prize. Thousands of potential slaves already contained and helpless, plus whatever technology and resources the ship contained. Vexthor would be pleased. Zalketh might even earn a promotion for this discovery. "Prepare boarding parties," Zalketh ordered. "I want that ship secured. Kill anyone who resists, but try to keep most of them alive. Live slaves are worth more than dead ones." The Craythan warships moved into position around the derelict colony ship. Its hull was marked with the words "Valiant Hope" in faded letters. Boarding craft launched from the Craythan vessels, carrying heavily armed soldiers in combat armor. The Craythan cut through the hull with plasma torches. The breach took less than an hour. Once inside, the boarding parties found themselves in long corridors lined with thousands of cylindrical pods. Frost covered the glass panels, but through the ice, they could see faces, humans, men, women, and even children, all frozen in time, sleeping peacefully while their ship drifted through the void. "Look at them," one Craythan soldier said to another. "They're so small, weak. How did this species ever think they could survive in space?" The boarding parties split up, moving through the ship. Some headed for the bridge to access the computer systems. Others began examining the cryopods, trying to figure out how to open them without killing the occupants. Dead slaves were worthless. On the bridge, Krythan technicians connected their equipment to the ship's systems. The computers were old but still functional. One technician accessed the ship's logs and began reading. "Commander," he reported over the communication channel. According to these records, this ship left Earth 253 years ago. They were fleeing some kind of stellar disaster. Their sun was becoming unstable. They sent out 12 colony ships to find new worlds. Zalketh listened from his flagship. 12 ships. If they could find the others, they would have tens of thousands of new slaves. Copy all data files, and begin transferring the sleeping humans to our holding cells. But the technician had made a mistake. When he connected to the ship's computer, he triggered a security protocol. Deep in the colony ship systems, alarms began to sound. Emergency revival procedures activated automatically. In the cryo bay, 30 pods suddenly came to life. Lights blinked on their control panels. Warm air pumped into the chambers. The ice on the glass panels began to melt. Inside, the sleeping humans began to wake up. It took several minutes. First came awareness, then confusion, then the slow return of memory. The humans in those 30 pods opened their eyes to a nightmare. Through their clearing vision, they saw armored reptilian creatures moving through their ship, dragging their friends and family from their pods. One of the first to fully wake was a man named Jake Morrison. He had been a captain in Earth's military before volunteering to lead the colony mission. His dark hair was now gray at the temples and his body felt weak from the long sleep, but his mind was sharp, and he understood danger when he saw it. Jake watched through his pod's glass panel as a Krythan soldier reached for the pod next to his. Inside was Amy Clark, his second in command. The Krythan entered commands on the pod's control panel, trying to open it manually. Jake's pod clicked open. He pushed the door and it swung wide. The Krythan soldier turned in surprise. For a moment, they stared at each other. Then Jake moved. His fist caught the Krythan in the throat. The soldier staggered back and Jake grabbed the weapon from his belt. He had no idea what it was or how it worked, but he pointed it and pressed what looked like a trigger. Energy blasted from the weapon, hitting another Krythan soldier across the room. The battle for humanity's survival had begun. The sound of the energy weapon echoed through the cryo bay. More Krythan soldiers spun around, their weapons rising. But now other pods were opening. Amy Clark stumbled out of hers, weak and confused. A Krythan rushed toward her, claws extended. Jake fired again, dropping the soldier before it reached Amy. "Get to cover," he shouted. Amy's training kicked in despite her disorientation. She dove behind a row of cryopods as energy blasts tore through the air where she had been standing. Around them, more humans were emerging from their pods, coughing and shaking. One of them was Ben Carter, the colony ship's doctor. He fell out of his pod onto the cold floor, his legs not yet strong enough to support him. A Krythan loomed over him, raising a weapon. Before it could fire, someone tackled it from the side. Lisa Grant, the ship's chief engineer, had grabbed a piece of broken metal from the damaged wall. She swung it like a club, hitting the Krythan's head hard enough to crack its helmet. The soldier fell and Lisa grabbed its weapon. "What's happening?" Ben gasped, crawling toward the shelter of the pods. "We're under attack," Lisa yelled back. She had no idea who these creatures were or why they were on the ship, but their intentions were clear. More humans were waking now. Danny Price, the best pilot on the Valiant Hope, pulled himself from his pod and immediately assessed the situation. 28 humans awake, maybe 30. At least 50 of those armored aliens in the bay. Bad odds, we need to get out of here, Danny shouted. "Anyone who can move, follow me." But the Krythan had blocked the main exits. Their soldiers formed a wall of armor and weapons. The humans were trapped, weak from centuries of sleep, surrounded by an enemy they didn't understand. Jake made a decision. "Weapons locker." "Amy, you remember where it is?" Amy nodded. Every colony ship had emergency weapons stored for landing on hostile worlds. "Deck 3, Section 7, but that's 2 levels down. Then we go down," Jake said. He fired at a group of Krythan, forcing them to take cover. "Everyone move!" The humans ran, stumbling and helping each other. The Krythan pursued, firing as they went. Energy blasts hit the walls, melting metal and starting small fires. 3 humans fell in the first corridor, killed before they could even understand what was happening to them. Jake felt rage building inside him. They had survived 2.5 centuries in cryo-sleep, crossed impossible distances through space, and now they were being hunted like animals on their own ship. No. This would not be their end. They reached a maintenance shaft. Danny pried open the panel with his bare hands, adrenaline giving him strength he shouldn't have had. Down here. It leads to deck 3. The humans climbed down as fast as they could. Behind them, the Krythan reached the shaft and began following. But the shaft was narrow, and the Krythan were larger than humans. They had to move slowly, one at a time. Keep going. Jake stayed at the top of the shaft, firing down at any Krythan who got close. Amy climbed down last, with Jake right behind her. They emerged on deck 3 into darkness. The emergency lights were barely working. Lisa, despite her weakness, went straight to a control panel on the wall. Her fingers moved over the buttons from memory. I can seal the maintenance shafts, she said. It'll trap some of them, slow down the others. Do it, Jake ordered. Lisa pressed a sequence of commands. Throughout the ship, heavy doors slammed shut in the maintenance system. They heard muffled sounds from above as Krythan soldiers found themselves trapped between sealed doors. The humans kept moving. Some of them were crying. Others were silent, faces blank with shock. Ben tried to help those who were injured, but they had no medical supplies yet. All they could do was keep running. They found the weapons locker exactly where it should be. Amy entered the security code, praying it still worked after so long. The lock clicked and the door opened. Inside were rifles, pistols, and even some heavier weapons designed for fighting large predators on unknown worlds. The humans grabbed everything they could carry. Jake handed a rifle to Danny, another to Ben, and distributed the rest among those who looked like they could handle them. Anyone here have military training? Jake asked. 5 hands went up, including Amy's. Good. You 5, take point positions. Everyone else, stay in the middle. Ben, stay with the injured. Now armed, the humans moved with more confidence. When the next group of Krythan found them, the fight was different. The humans used the ship's corridors to their advantage, setting up ambush points and forcing the enemy into narrow spaces where their numbers meant nothing. Amy discovered something surprising. Despite being weak from cryo sleep, she was faster than the Krythan. When one charged her, she dodged its claws and put 3 shots into its chest before it could turn around. The others noticed it too. They were quick, their reflexes sharp. Is it just me? Danny said during a brief pause in fighting. Or are we stronger than we should be? Ben, checking a wounded woman's pulse, overheard. The cryo sleep. I don't know how, but something changed us. Our bodies feel different. There was no time to think about it. The Krythan kept coming. Jake led his group toward the bridge, fighting every step of the way. They left bodies behind, both human and alien. Every loss hurt, but Jake pushed the grief down. He could mourn later. Right now, he needed to save his people. They reached the bridge to find it occupied by Krythan technicians. These weren't soldiers, and they panicked when armed humans burst through the door. The fight was quick and brutal. Lisa ran to the main console. They've been downloading our data. Ship's logs, navigation records, everything. Can you stop it? Jake asked. Already done. But Jake, look at this. Lisa brought up a display showing the space around the ship. There were 5 Krythan warships surrounding the Valiant Hope, each one bristling with weapons. We're completely surrounded. Jake stared at the display. Even if they could control their ship, they couldn't fight 5 warships. Can we run? Lisa checked the engine status. Maybe. The main drive is still functional, barely. But we haven't calculated a jump road, and the navigation systems are damaged. We could end up anywhere. Anywhere is better than here, Amy said. She was reloading her rifle, her face hard. They killed our people. Pulled them out of cryo while we were helpless. They weren't exploring. They were hunting. Jake looked at the faces around him. 23 humans left from the 30 who woke up. 23 survivors surrounded by enemies. But they were armed now, angry now, and they had their ship. Lisa, get us out of here. I don't care where, just away from them. Danny, help her with navigation. Amy, seal the bridge and set up defenses in case they try to breach again. Ben, take care of the injured. Everyone moved to follow his orders. Lisa's fingers flew over the controls, bringing ancient systems back to life. The ship shuddered as engines that had been cold for centuries sparked to life. On his flagship, Commander Zalketh watched in disbelief as the human colony ship's engines powered up. Stop them! Destroy their engines! But before the Krythan could fire, Lisa engaged the jump drive. Space twisted around the Valiant Hope and it vanished, leaving the Krythan fleet far behind. Inside the ship, Jake gripped his console as reality bent around them. They had survived the first encounter, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Valiant Hope dropped out of hyperspace near a red dwarf star. Lisa had aimed for the nearest system her damaged computers could calculate. They had no idea where they were, but they were alive and away from the Krython. Jake stood on the bridge looking at the 23 survivors around him. Some were bandaged from their injuries. All of them looked exhausted. But they were alert, ready to fight again if needed. First things first, Jake said. We need to wake more people. We can't defend this ship with just 23. Ben, can you safely revive more from Cryo? Ben nodded slowly. Yes, but we should do it carefully. Maybe 50 at a time. We need to explain the situation to them before they panic. Do it. Amy, I want security teams at every critical point on the ship. If those things tracked us somehow, I want us ready. Lisa, get the sensors working. I want to know everything within 1,000,000 kilometers of us. Over the next hours, they revived 50 more colonists. The newly awakened people were confused and frightened when they learned what had happened. Some cried. Others became angry. A few wanted to go back into Cryo and pretend none of this was real. Jake gathered them all in the main cargo bay. He stood on a cargo container so everyone could see him. I know this isn't what we planned. We were supposed to wake up on a new world, start fresh, build a life. Instead, we woke up to war. But we're alive. We survived the attack and we're going to keep surviving. What were those things? Someone called out, we don't know yet. But they're not alone. They have warships, organized military. That means there are more of them out there. Maybe a lot more. Amy stepped forward. Before we escaped, I accessed their communication logs. The language is alien, but their computers had translation programs. I've been studying them. The creatures that attacked us call themselves Krython. They control a massive empire. Dozens of species serve them as slaves. The cargo bay filled with worried voices. An empire, slaves? What kind of galaxy had they woken up to? Listen to me. Jake's voice cut through the noise. We have 3 options. 1, we try to hide. Find some empty corner of space and hope they never find us. 2, we run. Keep jumping from system to system, living as refugees. Or 3, we fight back. Fight back? An older man laughed bitterly. There are 73 of us awake. You said they have an empire? Yes, Jake agreed. But they don't know about the other colony ships. Earth sent out 12 ships, remember? Somewhere out there, 11 more ships are drifting in space with our people inside them. If we can find them, wake them up, we have a chance. Lisa had been working at a console near the wall. She looked up. Jake, I've got something. The old Earth protocols, the ones we used to communicate with the other ships during the launch. I'm detecting a response beacon. It's weak, but it's there. The New Dawn is out there. Hope flared in Jake's chest. The New Dawn carried 180,000 colonists. If they could reach it, wake those people up, they would have a real population. Can you track it? Give me a few hours. The signal is degraded, but I can triangulate it. Over the following days, the Valiant Hope limped through space toward the signal. They revived more colonists in groups, explaining the situation to each batch. Some took it well. Others struggled. But slowly, they were building a community again. Ben made an important discovery during his medical examinations. Jake, you need to see this. The cryosleep did something to us. Our cellular structure has changed. We're faster, stronger, heal quicker. I don't know why, but the centuries in cryo created some kind of beneficial mutation. Jake thought about the fight with the Krython. He had been weak from sleep, but still fast enough to fight trained soldiers. How much stronger? I'd estimate 40% increase in physical capabilities across the board. Reaction time, strength, endurance, all improved. It's like we've been enhanced. This was valuable information. If every human who woke from cryo was enhanced, they had an advantage the Krython wouldn't expect. They found the New Dawn 3 days later, drifting in an asteroid field. Jake felt relief when he saw it. The ship looked intact, its system still functioning. Lisa guided the Valiant Hope alongside, and they established a docking connection. Jake led a team aboard the New Dawn. The ship was silent, its corridors dark except for emergency lighting. But the cryo bays were operational, thousands of pods maintaining their precious cargo of human lives. Start the revival process, Jake ordered. But carefully. We do this in waves. It took 2 weeks to wake everyone on the New Dawn. Each group had to be briefed, equipped, and integrated. But at the end, Jake had over 5,000 humans under his command. Not all of them were soldiers, but all of them were angry about what the Krythan had done. While they were working, Lisa found something else. Using the New Dawn's more powerful communication systems, she detected another ship. This one wasn't responding to their hails. Jake took a team to investigate. The Perseverance hung dead in space. Something had gone wrong with its system centuries ago. When they boarded it, they found 200,000 bodies. Every single colonist had died in their sleep when life support failed. Jake stood in the cryo bay, looking at the rows of pods containing bodies instead of sleeping people. These were supposed to be farmers, teachers, engineers, families. Instead, they were a massive tomb. "We'll remember them," Amy said quietly beside him. She had been documenting everything since they woke up. Every name, every face. "We'll make sure their sacrifice meant something." The discovery of the Perseverance hardened something in the survivors. This was what the Krythan had tried to do to them. Kill them while they slept, helpless and unaware. The humans became more determined than ever to fight back. They were searching for the third ship when they were contacted by an alien vessel. Jake tensed when Lisa reported it, expecting another Krythan attack. But this ship was different, smaller, and clearly not military. A face appeared on their view screen. It had pale blue skin, large dark eyes, and features that seemed almost human. When it spoke, the translation came through clearly. "Please do not attack. I am Kalana of the Ashran. We received your broadcast, the one showing the Krythan attacking your sleeping people. Is it true? Are you the humans?" Jake stepped forward. "Yes, I'm Captain Jake Morrison. You saw what they did to us?" "Everyone saw it. Your message spread across the galaxy. Many species are talking about it. The Krythan are hunting for you. They have offered a huge reward for information about your location. Are you here to collect that reward?" Kalana's expression showed what might have been sadness. "No, I am here to warn you. The Krythan will never stop hunting you. They cannot allow any species to resist them successfully. It would inspire others to rebel. Let them come," Jake said. "We're not running anymore. Captain Morrison, you do not understand. The Krythan Empire controls thousands of worlds. They have millions of soldiers, thousands of warships. You have 2 damaged colony ships and a few thousand people. This is not a fight you can win." Jake looked around his bridge at Amy, Lisa, Danny, and Ben. He saw determination in their faces. They had all lost friends in the attack. They had all seen the dead on the Perseverance. Running was not an option anymore. "Maybe we can't win," Jake admitted. "But we're going to make them regret starting this fight. Tell me, Kalana, how many species want to be free of the Krythan?" "Many, most, but they are afraid." "Then we'll show them they don't need to be afraid anymore. We'll show them that the Krythan can bleed." Byri. Jake decided the humans needed to stop being prey and become hunters. With 5,000 people awake and 2 functioning colony ships, they had the beginning of a real force. But they needed weapons, supplies, and most importantly, they needed the Krythan to fear them. Kalana provided information about Krythan operations in the region. There was a supply station orbiting a moon in a nearby system. It wasn't heavily defended, just a storage facility for weapons and equipment being shipped to the frontier. The Krythan never thought anyone would be foolish enough to attack it. "We'll hit it fast and hard," Jake explained to his command team. "Get in, take everything useful, and get out before reinforcements arrive. Amy, you'll lead the boarding team. Danny, you'll pilot one of their own supply shuttles we captured. They won't expect it to attack them." Amy assembled a team of 50 humans, all of them enhanced by the cryo sleep. They trained for 3 days, practicing boarding actions in the Valiant Hope's cargo bays. Ben made sure everyone was in peak condition, and Lisa modified their captured Krythan weapons to be more comfortable for human hands. The attack happened at the station's night cycle, when only a small crew was on duty. Danny flew the stolen shuttle right up to the docking bay, broadcasting Krythan identification codes Lisa had extracted from their computer systems. The station never suspected anything until the shuttle doors opened and humans poured out. The fight was brutal, but short. The station crew of 40 Krythan never had a chance against 50 enhanced humans moving with military precision. Amy's team secured the station in less than 20 minutes. Only 5 Krythan survived, and those were because Jake wanted prisoners for interrogation. Lisa and her engineers went through the station's cargo holds like excited children. They found crates of energy weapons, armor, power cells, and most importantly, data cores containing Krythan military codes and star charts. "This is better than I hoped," Lisa said, examining a plasma rifle. "With these weapons and the data, we can actually hurt them." But the best prize was something Lisa found in the station's computer. The Crythan had been tracking signals from old Earth technology. They had located 3 more colony ships. Jake felt his heart race. 3 more ships meant potentially hundreds of thousands more humans. But there was a problem. The Crythan knew where they were too. They returned to the Valiant Hope with their captured supplies. Ben interrogated the Crythan prisoners through a translator. What he learned was disturbing. Commander Zalketh, the officer who had attacked them initially, was obsessed with destroying humanity. He had convinced Supreme Overlord Vexthor that humans were a serious threat to the Empire. "They're scared of us," Ben reported to Jake. "Our broadcast showed an unknown species fighting back successfully. Other slave species saw it. There have been small rebellions on 3 worlds since then. Nothing major, but enough to worry the Crythan leadership." "Good," Jake said coldly. "Let them be scared. Now we need to find those 3 colony ships before Zalketh does." But Zalketh was already moving. His fleet of 50 warships had split into 3 groups, each one heading for a different colony ship location. He planned to destroy the ships before the humans could reach them. The race was on. The humans pushed their engines to maximum, rushing toward the nearest signal. Lisa worked constantly, trying to squeeze more speed from systems that were already running beyond their design limits. They arrived 2 days later to find they were too late. The colony ship Perseverance 2 hung in space, but it wasn't alone. 6 Crythan warships surrounded it. Jake watched from the Valiant Hope's bridge as Crythan soldiers moved through the colony ship, dragging cryopods out and loading them onto their transport vessels. "They're taking our people," Amy said, her voice tight with anger. 200,000 humans. Jake clenched his fists. 2 colony ships against 6 warships. The Crythan outgunned them completely. A direct attack would be suicide. But he couldn't just leave his people to be enslaved or killed. "Lisa, can we get a message to that ship? Wake up some of the crew?" Lisa worked her console. "Maybe. If I can access their systems remotely, I could trigger revival protocols in specific pods. But the Crythan will notice once people start waking up." "Do it. Wake up their security team and anyone near the weapons lockers. Let's give the Crythan a surprise." On the Perseverance 2, cryopods began their wake-up cycle in scattered locations throughout the ship. The Crythan soldiers noticed but didn't understand what was happening until armed humans started emerging from the pods. The colonists were confused and weak, but they saw alien soldiers dragging their friends away. Survival instinct and rage kicked in. Fighting erupted throughout the ship. The Crythan found themselves under attack from inside while trying to deal with the human colony ships approaching from outside. Jake seized the moment of chaos. "All ships, attack now! Target their weapon systems." The Valiant Hope and New Dawn charged forward, firing everything they had. The Crythan warships tried to respond, but they were caught between the external attack and the internal fighting. One warship took critical damage to its engines and began drifting. Another lost its weapons arrays. Danny piloted a shuttle loaded with armed humans directly toward the Perseverance 2. Crythan fighters tried to intercept, but Danny's enhanced reflexes made him untouchable. He weaved through their fire, cursing cheerfully the whole way. "This is Danny Price delivering an express package of human fury," he announced over the open channel. "No signature required." The shuttle crashed through the Perseverance 2's damaged hull and disgorged 50 fighters into the ship. Amy led them through the corridors, joining up with the newly awakened colonists. Together, they pushed the Crythan back toward their docked transports. On his flagship, Commander Zalketh watched his plan falling apart. These humans fought with a ferocity he had never encountered. Even their newly awakened civilians were dangerous. He realized too late that underestimating them had been a mistake. "All ships withdraw," Zalketh ordered. "Destroy the colony ship as we leave. If we cannot take them as slaves, we will kill them all." But the Crythan ships were damaged and disorganized. When they tried to fire on the Perseverance 2, the human ships positioned themselves in the way. Taking hits meant for the colony ship. The New Dawn's shields failed under the bombardment, and fires broke out across 3 decks. But they held their position. The Crythan fleet finally broke off and jumped away. Jake stood on his damaged bridge, breathing hard. They had won, but barely. Around him, damage reports were coming in. 53 humans dead, over 200 injured. But they had saved the Perseverance 2 and its 200,000 sleeping colonists. "Get repair teams working," Jake ordered, "and start reviving the people on that ship. We need everyone awake now." Over the next week, they woke the colonists from the Perseverance 2. When the last person emerged from Cryo, Jake had over 205,000 humans under his command. They were still vastly outnumbered by the Krithan Empire, but they were no longer helpless. Word of the battle spread across the galaxy. The human broadcast showed the Krithan fleet retreating, defeated by colony ships and civilian fighters. On 12 slave worlds, open rebellions broke out. The subject species had seen proof that the Krithan could be beaten. Kelana contacted Jake again. "Captain Morrison, what you have done is remarkable. But you must understand the Krithan will not let this stand. Supreme Overlord Vexthor has declared you the Empire's primary enemy. Commander Zalketh has been given unlimited resources to destroy you. How long do we have?" Jake asked. "Weeks, maybe days. Zalketh is gathering the largest fleet ever assembled for a single target. 200 warships. When they find you, there will be no escape." Jake looked at Amy, Lisa, Danny, and Ben, his core team, his friends. They had all changed since waking up. Harder now, scarred by battle and loss, but determined. "Then we don't hide," Jake said. "We find the remaining colony ships first. We wake every human we can, and when Zalketh comes for us, we show him what happens when you make humans angry." The humans found 3 more colony ships in the following month. Each time they raced against the Krithan to reach them first. Sometimes they won, sometimes they barely escaped. By the end, Jake had awakened over 800,000 humans from 8 recovered colony ships. 4 ships remained lost somewhere in the galaxy, but there was no more time to search for them. Commander Zalketh's fleet was coming, 200 Krithan warships, the largest military force ever assembled for a single operation. Long-range scouts reported they would arrive in 3 days. The humans had to make a choice, run or fight. Jake called a council meeting with representatives from all 8 colony ships. The cargo bay of the Valiant Hope was packed with people. Leaders, soldiers, civilians, even children. Everyone wanted to be heard. "We can't win a direct fight," argued one man, a farmer from the New Dawn. 200 warships against our 8 colony ships? "We should jump to a random location, somewhere they can't find us, and then what?" Amy challenged. "Live as refugees forever? Keep running while they hunt us? Our children growing up in fear?" "She's right," said a woman holding a young girl's hand. "I woke my daughter from Cryo 2 weeks ago. She's 6 years old. She asks me every day when we can go home, when we can be safe. I don't want to tell her we'll never be safe." Jake let them debate for an hour before standing up. The room quieted. Over the past months, he had become more than just a captain. He was the symbol of human resistance, the man who had survived the first attack and turned victims into fighters. "I've been thinking about Earth," Jake said quietly. "We left because we thought our sun was dying. We scattered across space, hoping to find new homes. But we've received signals from Earth in the past weeks. The sun stabilized. Our home world survived. There are still billions of humans there, living, rebuilding, not even knowing we exist." The room erupted in excited voices. Earth survived. They could go home. Jake raised his hand for silence. "But if we run now, if we hide and let the Krithan control the galaxy, eventually they'll find Earth. And when they do, those billions of humans will become slaves just like the other species in this empire." "Is that what we want?" The cargo bay fell silent. "We have a choice," Jake continued. "We can run and maybe survive a little longer. Or we can fight here now and show the galaxy that humanity doesn't kneel. If we lose, at least Earth will be warned. Our broadcasts have been going out constantly. Someone back home will eventually detect them and know what's out here. But if we win," he paused. "If we win, we change everything." The vote was close, but it went in favor of fighting. They had 3 days to prepare. Lisa and her engineering teams worked around the clock. They stripped non-essential systems from all 8 colony ships and redirected power to weapons and shields. They laid traps in the space around their position, hidden mines and sensor disruptions. Danny trained every pilot they had, teaching them evasive maneuvers and attack patterns. Amy did something unexpected. She contacted other alien species through Kelana. "We're going to fight the Krithan fleet," she told them. "We're probably going to die. But before we do, we're going to hurt them badly. If you want to be free, now is the time to act. While the Krithan are focused on us, you can strike at their undefended territories." Some species refused, too afraid of Krithan retribution, but others listened. The Ashran promised to provide intelligence and jam Krithan communications. The Torvan, a warrior species that had barely held onto their independence, offered to send ships. It wouldn't be many, but every ship counted. Ben made sure every human who could hold a weapon was ready. The cryo-enhanced humans were already formidable fighters, but he gave them additional stimulants to push their reflexes even further. It was dangerous and would cause problems later, but there might not be a later. On the third day, long-range sensors detected the Krythan fleet. 200 warships in perfect formation, advancing like a wall of metal and death. At the center was Zalketh's flagship, larger than any 3 colony ships combined. Jake stood on the bridge of the Valiant Hope, now designated as the flagship of the human fleet. Amy was at tactical, Lisa at engineering, Danny at the helm, and Ben coordinating the civilian defense teams. They had all come so far from those first confused moments waking up in the cryo bay. "This is Captain Jake Morrison to all human ships," he broadcast. "We didn't ask for this war. We were just trying to survive, to find a new home. But the Krythan made a mistake. They attacked us while we slept. They killed our people. They thought we were weak. Today we show them how wrong they were." The human fleet moved to meet the Krythan, 8 colony ships against 200 warships. The odds were insane. But the humans had advantages the Krythan didn't know about. Every pilot was enhanced, reacting faster than should be possible. Every ship was loaded with colonists ready to fight, and the Krythan had never faced an enemy that simply refused to give up. The battle began with a massive exchange of fire. Energy weapons lit up space like a second sun. The human ships scattered, refusing to present easy targets. They dove through the Krythan formation, taking hits but dealing them back. The hidden mines activated, exploding among the Krythan ships and breaking their neat formation. "They're trying to surround us," Amy called out. "Let them," Jake replied. "Danny, take us straight for Zalketh's flagship." Danny grinned. "Now you're talking my language." The Valiant Hope accelerated directly toward the enemy command ship. Krythan fighters swarmed around them, but Danny weaved through their fire. Other human ships followed, creating a wedge formation that punched through the Krythan lines. On his flagship, Commander Zalketh watched in disbelief. These colony ships were attacking him. They should be running, begging for mercy. Instead, they were charging straight at him like predators. "All weapons, focus on that lead ship," Zalketh ordered. "I want it destroyed." Energy blasts hammered the Valiant Hope's shields. Alarms blared across the bridge. Fires broke out on 3 decks. But they kept coming. "Shields at 20%, Lisa shouted. "Then we'll just have to get close enough that shields don't matter," Jake said. "Amy, prepare boarding teams." "Boarding teams?" Amy looked at him like he was crazy. "Jake, that's a warship. It has thousands of soldiers. And we have thousands of very angry humans who've been practicing ship-to-ship combat for a month. Launch the shuttles." 50 shuttles exploded from the Valiant Hope's bays, each packed with armed humans. They streaked toward the Krythan flagship. The enemy point defense systems took out 12 shuttles, but the rest made it through. They crashed into the warship's hull, cutting through and disgorging their fighters inside. What followed was the most brutal close-quarters battle the galaxy had ever seen. Enhanced humans against Krythan soldiers in narrow corridors. The humans were faster, more aggressive, and fighting for the survival of their entire species. They cut through the ship like a knife, heading straight for the bridge. Outside, the battle raged on. The Torvan ships arrived and attacked the Krythan rear guard. More alien species joined, inspired by human courage. The neat Krythan formation collapsed into chaos. For the first time in 3 centuries, the Krythan Empire was losing a major battle. Amy led her team onto the Krythan flagship's bridge. Commander Zalketh stood surrounded by his officers, all of them armed. The 2 forces stared at each other for a moment. "You cannot win," Zalketh hissed. "Even if you kill me, the Empire is eternal." Amy raised her weapon. "Maybe, but you won't live to see it." The final fight was quick. Zalketh was strong and well-trained, but Amy was enhanced and furious. When he fell, the remaining Krythan on the bridge surrendered. "This is Amy Clark to all Krythan ships," she broadcast from Zalketh's own communication system. "Your commander is dead. Your flagship is ours. Surrender now or share his fate." The Krythan fleet broke. Some ships jumped away immediately. Others tried to continue fighting, but found themselves overwhelmed by combined human and alien forces. By the end of the day, 60 Krythan warships were destroyed or captured. The rest had fled. Jake stood on the bridge of the Valiant Hope watching the retreating enemy. They had won. Somehow impossibly they had won. "Captain," Lisa said softly, We're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Slave species are rising up. The Krythan Empire is falling apart. Jake felt tears in his eyes. They had done it. A few colony ships full of refugees had sparked a revolution that would free billions. Set course for Earth, Jake ordered. It's time to go home. We have a lot to tell them.